You are listening to VIC Radio, and do you want to just introduce yourself first?
Yeah, I'm Little Scream. My real name is Laurel Sprengelmeyer, but my stage name is Little Scream.
Awesome. Now, your latest album is not quite out yet, but it's called Cult Following, and it'll be out on May 6th. So what can we expect from this album?
Cult Following is a fun, dark, epic, kind of cinematic adventure of music that it's one kind of whole continuous musical thing. So yeah, it just like starts out in a world and every song connects to the other one until you get to the end.
Awesome. I'm really excited to hear it. Now, this is your first record back since 2011's The Golden Record. So how did this album come to be, and when and where was it recorded?
So this album, I started writing it kind of on the tails of touring the first record. And yeah, I did most of the writing in Montreal and most of the recording in Montreal as well, a bit in New York. Yeah, I mean, it took me a full 2 years to finish it just because it's epic. I just really got into the recording process a lot more personally this time around and spent a long time on Pro Tools. That part was really boring, but the music part is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And though this is your first full-length album back, you've been involved in a lot of like musical and art projects the past few years. For example, Master Mix, Red Hot, and Arthur Russell. And did you find musical like collaboration and influence from those projects that inspired Cult Following in any way? I know that you said you did record it a little bit ago, but...
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the people that I collaborated with on other projects over the past 2 years are also on this record. I made this record with Richard Perry from Arcade Fire, and he and I collaborated on the Master Mix songs as well as another project that we're recording right now called Quiet River of Dust. Same with a lot of the other people that are on this record. Bryce and Aaron Dessner, we worked a bit with on a few things with them during that period. Most recently, the Grateful Dead compilation that they just released, which is another Red Hot project as well, and probably lots of other things I'm forgetting at the moment because, I think always working on different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow up on that, you mentioned some of the great collaborators on the album, also like members of TV on the Radio, Sufjan Stevens. And so like, do you thrive as an artist when working with others, and how does it compare to working truly alone as a solo artist?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of why I work with other people is that it's a solo project. Little Scream is my solo name, but I have really big, sprawling musical ideas, so I need other people to collaborate with. And for me, that brings me out of my shell. And I also, in this record, I like working with other people because it brings out my joyful side. As soon as I'm alone in a room playing music, it tends to get a lot more introspective, darker, and I really embrace that on this record, but also really got into the more fun and boisterous side of collaborating with other people to kind of help express more of the joy that I feel in day-to-day life and in music in general. So the collaborating is really important for me for that part as well, just like bringing out the different emotions in music.
Yeah, and how do you feel that those collaborators impacted the album, whether it be like sound-wise, lyric-wise, and what did you learn from them?
It really depended on the collaboration. Like for example, Kip from TV on the Radio, I just had this one line in this particular song, and I really felt like it needed to be his voice, partly because it was like a character that I think related to something that I just was like, oh, that needs to be Kip. So, he came in and sang on that specific part. Whereas, like working with, Bryce or Aaron Dessner, they came in and added different atmospheres to the song that they worked on, and that, brought it to a place that I probably wouldn't have if I was just working on it on my own. So it really depended on the nature of the collaboration. And for me, I do a lot of that stuff pretty spontaneously. It just would, if I happen to be hanging out with people, most of the people on the album are friends. So yeah, if I just happened to be seeing them while I was working on the record, I would just say like, oh, do you want to listen to this song? And if you have any ideas, go ahead and throw them at the wall. And that's kind of how it all came together in one big pile.
No, that makes sense. And that's like cool that you have friends to kind of throw ideas off of and help you out that way. And the first single was released, and it was Love as a Weapon. And it's a song that, for like lack of a better explanation, seems kind of like a relationship failure, but you've made it kind of like a funky dance anthem, which is absolutely amazing for said situation. So what was the basis for creating a song such as Love as a Weapon?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I wanted to get like kind of a more joyful beautiful spirit happening musically, and while at the same time expressing some real dark things in emotional, like, relationship territory. And I think some of my favorite music does that. Like, definitely Motown music does that, where sometimes if you listen to the lyrics and stuff, it's just all heartbreak, but still the song and the music behind that is like, it still makes you happy. And I think that's part of, like, that's one of the great things if you can do that in music. And I was definitely trying on this album to do that at certain points, to still have, like, the content that I was connecting with, but in a way that makes you feel like you can overcome it through the joy of the music, which is like, I don't know, I always like the juxtaposition of those feelings with, you know, up feeling music with some not necessarily up feeling lyrics.
Yeah, that's a theme in all of my favorite songs too. And it's one of our current favorite songs on the station, and it's inherently like a pop song, but doesn't kind of fall into the stereotypes of what a pop song should be, and keeps surprising, like, the listener. And was it a conscious decision to move towards more synth-inspired sounding music? And did you have an idea before recording of what you wanted the song and the album to sound like?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a couple reference points, and I was thinking about some, you know, some more, like, maybe some classic pop references, for sure, Prince, a bit Rolling Stones or Tina Turner, like that era of stuff, but also, you know, combined with some more atmospheric music that I was listening to. For example, I got super into this mix of Nicholas Jarre, this BBC Essential mix, and one thing that I loved, what he did with that was he could take, like, one type of sound, one very different type of music, and then join it really seamlessly with another type of song and create this really amazing, like, landscape, like a film that you get to go through. And so that was definitely what I was thinking of when I came to put all these songs together for this record. I wanted them to I felt like a bit of a DJ in terms of how I worked on producing it. So I guess that'll make more sense when you actually get to hear the whole record instead of just the singles.
And there's also a music video for Love as a Weapon, and I personally have been trying to imitate the dance moves all week. And who worked on it?
Awesome.
And what was the idea kind of behind it?
Well, that was one that Dan Heiding, who's a director, he has a channel on Pitchfork TV called City of Music out of Minneapolis. So he's done a bunch of really cool videos, and he just pitched an idea that had a bunch of really cool visual elements to it without a real narrative, and I really liked that. I just thought it would be cool to play with different, intense, funny visual ideas. And, like, again, I wanted the video to have a lightheartedness to it, because that, like, the song has a lightheartedness to it. And so, he started by pitching a bunch of visual ideas, and I hit him back with the things that I liked and a couple other things. And and we just did 2 crazy days of shooting and came up with the video, and I'm super happy with it. It always makes me smile.
And now, alternatively, just yesterday, you released the second single, Someone Will Notice, which has a very different sound than Love as a Weapon, and you dedicate it to Amanda Todd. Would you mind talking about that song a bit?
Yeah, that was actually one of the first ones I wrote for this record, and it was Amanda Todd is a Canadian teenager who committed suicide after having been cyberbullied by an older man, and then, I guess, being teased by a lot of classmates because of an incident that occurred to her online. And then she released this video not long before she killed herself, where she couldn't speak, but she just wrote everything down on note cards and showed the note cards. And I just saw, I was working on another song, I don't even remember which one, and I saw that video, and I just, like, responded to it directly emotionally and just kind of wrote that song kind of right on the spot. And I wanted to release that song after Love is a Weapon, because this album it's like kind of, it has a wide breadth in terms of emotional territory. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to, Love is a Weapon is on the upside of it, but Someone Will Notice is on the other side of that spectrum, which is, really just getting into the dark parts of it. And I just felt like it was important to show that it's not going to be like an entirely disco record, but still have, like, even Someone Will Notice, it has, like, kind of hook to it, and also, like, an epic adventure part of it at the end, which is just sort of somehow, like, my trying to connect with her and give her some sort of help rise out of the situation. I guess I'm not being very articulate about that.
No,
because
that
it was just really an emotional response. Sometimes you don't, like, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I need to do an anti-suicide song. I was just really feeling for her and wishing we could have helped. And and then that, like, all of us, like, how we fail about fail in standing up for other people, and just fail each other sometimes. And just, anyways, that's why I wanted to release that 1 second, just to kind of give a glimpse of what the album will be like in its full scope.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciated the juxtaposition between those two songs. And you talked about kind of the wide theme throughout the album. So do you find a common thread that is throughout this album? And are you playing with a lot of different soundscapes?
Yeah, I mean, common thread, I think there is like a lot of relationship stuff in it, but that it gets like, I think like it starts off in the like brighter poppy side, but you hear that there's like something going wrong. And I think like a lot of times relationship stuff can just bring up whatever our own deepest like fears, or like our own, we're up against ourselves at a certain level, and so I think that's like the record just tries to span some of that emotional territory, from one end to the other, really, and like kind of where every relationship you have is a relationship with another person, and like with yourself, sorry. And that's sort of cult following, like the title of the record. It's a little bit just like the cult of love and relationships, how we can really like project a lot into the relationships we're in and have certain ideas and beliefs about them that we follow almost religiously. And, like what do we do when we come up against the darker side of that and the harder side of that?
Yeah. And now we're only going off of these two songs, but what songs off of the album are you most excited to kind of share with, your friends, the public?
Yeah, well, there's one that's coming out next that will be before the album comes out. I think it's going to be this next week. And in this song, I do a guitar and vocal solo at the same time, which is kind of a Prince-inspired move. So it's kind of like Courtney Barnett meets Prince, maybe.
Nice.
And then, so that's one I'm really excited about. Man, I'm trying to think. There's another song that we've really been enjoying doing live that we only just started picking up with the band, and that's the one that Bryce and Aaron Dessner are on the record called Wreckage. Man, I think it just depends on the day, but it's like, I'm really enjoying like playing these things, figuring out how to play these things live. We've been doing a bit of touring, and we've got a bunch more touring lined up. So that's like, that's the next part of this adventure of the record is just, it's one thing as a piece of recorded music, and then when it's live, it's always a totally different ballgame. So that's the adventure now.
Yeah. Now, Cult Following will be your first album out on Merge Records. So what made you decide to go with Merge, and like what are some of your favorite artists on Merge? Because it's kind of one of those iconic labels.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I love M. Ward. There are so many artists on Merge, and like Neutral Milk Hotel, I'm a big fan of theirs. And I mean, Merge is just like, they are just really great people. They really care about their records. They work. They're really involved in everything, and they're super straightforward. And, because they're artists themselves, it's founded by, members of Superchunk, which is also a band I really admire. And I think them being artists themselves and like working, touring musicians, that really, I think, shapes how the label works. So it's awesome working with those guys because they totally get it. And I'm big fans of what they do as well. So I feel really, really happy and honored, really, that they picked me up and decided to put this record out.
Yeah. And so this is kind of the final question. What can we expect in the coming months from Little Scream, before the album is out and then once it is released?
Well, I start tour tomorrow. I'm going to be I'm going to do a couple Canadian dates and then East Coast with Tao and the Get Down, Stay Down. And, I've got a bunch of touring lined up, festivals, a bit in Europe, a lot of things that are still coming together as well. So mostly just a lot more touring, and I am hopefully like squeezing in time to work on the new record in there too, like the next one, whatever that is. But mostly just focus on getting this one out there and hitting the road. So hopefully people if you check out my socials to see where I'm on tour, then you can come see it live.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Laurel. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck on tour.
Thank you so much.